In my last two tone tutorial videos, I've covered a Fender twin reverb tone and a Fender Bassman tone. Now, in the comments, I got a couple requests asking if it can do a Vox tone. So that's what we're doing this time around. Now, in this live set, I've got two different patches. I used the VO drive and VO lead sneaky amps as a bass. And when you load those two sneaky amps, they don't really have that bright Vox chime or jangle to them. So I really had to EQ the heck out of them to get them there. Now, like I said, I did two patches, and one's in the vein of the Beatles, and one's kind of like a Brian May Fat Bottom Girls tone. And you'll see I'll be using two different guitars. Full disclosure, I've never played a Vox, anything, ever. I've also never played a twin reverb, and I've never played a Bassman. But you don't have to play any of those to know what they sound like. Just like you don't have to ride a motorcycle to know what one sounds like. If you get where I'm going with all that. So these are just my interpretations. They may not be exact, but I feel like I've gotten pretty close to them. Now, all these amp tones that I've done for the last few videos sound much more authentic when you got them on the amp and you got them turned up a bit. So you get that resonance from the actual amp cabinet. That's enough of my babbling. Let's get to it. Starting with Vox Man. Vox Man is called Vox Man because when I first started to dial it in, I was using the Beatles' Taxman as kind of a starting point to develop that sound, and that's just how it got named. Now, I'm going to play just a little bit of Taxman, but I'm also going to play a couple riffs from some other popular Beatles songs too, so you can just kind of hear how it sounds. Starting off with a panel and the chain up, I've got the chain set at 4-1. It really doesn't matter because there's nothing after the boost on this one except reverb, and none of these had reverb before the equalizer anyway. So it'll actually sound the same with any one of these chains. Now, the VO drive, which is what I used for this one, the sneaky amp, it is a crunch amp. So if you move that, it's going to change the whole sound of everything on it. I got the gain set at 64, the volume at 92. When you download the live set, the volume will be at 50, and you'll just have to adjust it to your own home amp threshold. I got the bass set at 55, the mid at 59, the treble quite higher at 79, and I have the vintage cabinet resonance with the presence at 73, just so we can kind of have a good start to a nice chimey sound. That's kind of quiet because we don't have the parametric EQ kicked in yet. And I know I'm talking funny. I'm not drunk. Just had some dental work done. Have to learn how to talk again. Anyway, moving on to the boost. I've got a blues driver set up here. The drive set at 44. The tone at 12. Bottom at 6. You can play with that. And then I have the direct mix at 50. That kind of mixes your clean signal with your boosted signal. And the effects at 50. We're getting there. I do have a room reverb because I kind of wanted to make it sound like a studio. We're in the studio. So I just put on room reverb, 1.6 seconds on the reverb time, 34 milliseconds, and the low cut and high cut I just left it flat. The density is at 4, and the effects level is at 22. Direct mix all the way up at 100. Next up, on this one, I do have a contour. Now, a contour on these amps kind of enhances your mids. So I do have a contour set at 1, but this is just one of 3 settings, okay? This number right here means nothing. It's just 3 different settings, 3 different things that you can set up. Now, for this one, I do have the type at 4. This is where it makes the biggest difference. The type set at 4 because one is a bit choked. 2 doesn't sound much different than 1. And 3's a little tunnely, I guess, if you want to call it that. And 4 just has that bright tone to it that's going to help with this chimey, jangly Vox sound. Next, we're going to boost everything up with the parametric EQ. Amp out, I've got minus 3 decibels on low gain, minus 1 on the mid. I do have the low cut up to 80, instead of my normal 40, and it does make a difference. 250 on the low mid. The Qs are set at 1 plus 2 decibels on the high mid. And I've got the kilohertz up to 2 instead of the normal 1.6 I normally use with everything else. It just makes it sound a little bit better. And then the high cut, I got it at 5. You don't want to go any lower than that, and you don't really want to go any higher than that. But I do have the high gain kicked up to plus 6 decibels, and the level on this is at 3. And lastly, I do have a graphic equalizer. This just brought everything else, the mids and the highs, out of the box just a little bit more. Let's hear it before a graphic equalizer. With the graphic equalizer. And that's it. Now let's hear a couple different Beatles riff. To Fat Bottom Vox. Somebody asked for a Brian May tone a while back, and well, this is it. This Vox tone is kind of going to be in the vein of Fat Bottom Girls from Queen. Now, it's set at crunch. This is the VO lead, and it's set at crunch. If you mess with that, like I said before, it's going to change the whole sound of it. So leave that alone right there. I got it at chain 2-1. I need it here, and it does make a difference because I have a graphic equalizer, and it has to be after the amplifier equalizer. Before that, it's going to sound weird. I'll show you in just a second once we kick that on. So let's look at the panel here. Got the gain at 65, volume at 90. You'll have to adjust that on your own. Bass 37, mid 16, treble 72, and the presence at 82. Vintage cabinet resonance. I only have FX and reverb on here as far as effects goes. And here's the graphic equalizer. I have it boosted up to 6 decibels on the level side. And as you can see, I got the lows down here and the high and mids kind of boosted a little bit. Let's hear it before. And with the graphic EQ. I'm going to be screwing that up a lot tonight because I don't know exactly how to play it. All I know is. Close enough. So now that we do have the graphic equalizer on, let's go back to the chain and hear the difference. Before the amp, after the amp. See, big difference now. As long as the effects is after the amplifier equalizer, you're all good. Next up, I did put a spring reverb in here, 1.3 seconds on the reverb time, 13 milliseconds on the pre-delay. I left these just as they were when I found them, so they could be flat for all I care. Density at 5, color at 100, and 11 on the level, 100 on the direct mix. So just like the last patch, I do have a contour on here, and it's just set to type 4. But the frequency shift is at 0. I just left it alone, and it just enhances those mids and gives it that little more sparkly sound to it. And I don't have, believe it or not, this might blow your mind, but I don't have any kind of parametric EQ going on here. I do have the noise suppressor set at 51, but that's it. So we got everything put together. Let's play a little bit. You don't want to hear me sing, do you? Maybe at the end. Maybe at the end I'll slip it in there. Then you can gag and puke and poke your drums out then. That's going to wrap it up. So, does it Vox? Yes, it Voxes. So now you got a couple different tones. You got a twin reverb, blues amp, and a Vox tone that you can choose from. Maybe I'll do a Mesa Boogie next. I'm not sure, but I got a long list of artist requests I really need to get back to. So I'm going to work on that. Thanks for watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and we'll see you next time. Hey, I was just a skin lad, never